Sometimes you can get the point of a needle nose into the eye and use that to leverage the thing out, like so. Alright, so once you get that out, the next step is taking that axle, retaining that off, which on this car, 2008 Sentra, is a 32mm nut, or 1.25" will also work, if that will come into focus there. Same measurement. So I'm going to get my big breaker bar and then crank that off. Moving. Yep, definitely moving. So there's a tie rod there. 14mm socket. And then we'll put our tie rod removal tool on there like so. And out she comes. So according to the instructions, this thing has a wheel sensor in it. Be what's running off this cable here. You got to take this out before you do anything else really with the axle. So it's a 10mm nut, unscrew, and then this thing should just pull out. So you just pound on it, and then eventually the thing starts loosening up. You can finally take this nut off. I can see I'm going to have to take these knuckle mounts off the front strut, so this knuckle can swing this way so I get enough clearance to get this axle out. This thing is a really long spindle on it here, and I'm not even close to clearing the hub, even with that tie rod out of the way. Again, on a car that's really new, this isn't too bad. And I'll switch to the ratchet. For those wondering, that's a 21mm nut. Alright, so my camera wasn't recording, but what you're going to have to do in a nutshell is you've got to take the two mount bolts out to hold this knuckle to the front strut. Once you take these out, this whole knuckle swings down this way, and then you can easily push the CV axle out through the hub and then let it come down here and rest. And then what you don't want to do is let this steering knuckle hang, because it's going to hang on this brake line if you do. So I just stabbed a bolt back in here to keep it out of the way. This is also why you take this wheel sensor out before you do remove these two bolts, because it'll hang on this line, and I hear these things are really expensive to replace. So once you get all that out, or I should say once you get this out of the hub, You know, this is one of the harder parts here. And then what we're going to do is back here, you can see where the shaft goes in the tranny. That's the easy part. But what we got to do next is right behind my fingers there, we've got to take those two bolts off, I believe, and get this bearing holder off the car, and then we're going to pry this shaft out of the transmission and it'll be out. Okay, so here we are under the car. Here you can see where the drive axle goes into the transmission. Right back here is the other side of where that plate is that I just took off. So on this car, as soon as you take that plate off and you start pulling on this axle, it's just going to slide out of the transmission. See? On some other ones I've done, you've got to, you know, get a pry bar in there and pry it out. There's a snap ring that holds it in. This one's just going to slide right out, and I'm sure it's going to drop some fluid, but I got some rags down here to catch it. And then so once you get that out, that bearing will, there's a bearing inside this that is part of this CV axle itself that will slide out of that housing, hopefully, and then our axle will be out. And you know what you may find is you may have to drop that steering knuckle again to get enough room to get the axle to slide out of the way. That's okay. So I got a little bowl under there. Hopefully it's in the right spot. Just cut apart a milk carton. And I'm going to take this bolt back out. Okay. Try to keep tension off this brake line. I don't have much tension on there. And then you should be able to grab a hold of this axle, slide it out. Okay, and you can see the fluid coming out of there. I don't know how much is going to come out of this thing. Unbelievably, I have my drip pan, my milk carton set up just about right. And there you can see how that bearing came out of that housing there. Okay, I'm going to set the camera down. There is seals in that transmission housing that you don't want to let this axle sit on, as it's pretty heavy. I don't want to ruin that seal. I think it could stop leaking any time now. Be nice. Oh my. Okay. Here's this axle out. Okay. And we're leaking a little. Okay. So when you get the old beast out, I always lay it up next to the new beast, and you can see already there's some changes between the two. But what you're looking for is the splines have to be correct on both ends and the overall length.